Face front, true believers. Welcome to the Pitch Nerds. We are the weekly show where two nerds assemble to bring you the latest nerdy news, reviews, and occasionally pitch things. I'm Cap, and joining me today is always best friend, fellow nerd, and future carpet entrepreneur of America, Mr. Frosty. Mr. Frosty, good morning, sir. How you doing? How you feeling? Looking
Still
splendid.
shitty, but I'm just posting our live tweet. Still shitty, but I'm getting by. Wound's a little red. Worried about that.
Yeah.
I reported it to the nurse, but we'll see.
It's not itchy or anything, is
Aw,
it?
man.
What?
Twitter's doing that thing where it's like, warning, this may contain blah, blah, blah content on our thing. I'm always careful never to say anything like offensive. Like, if I'm going to say like shit, I do S and then asterisk T, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
and because those accounts get flagged, but I guess we're flagged as one now.
Really? For what?
I think so, because it just blocked like the link to our thing when I just posted it live. So
Really? Huh.
yeah.
What did we say that was offensive?
It's Twitter based. So I mean, it would be like I said fuck or something, or I posted like
something about
boo.
January 6th, or like from the river to
I
the
never
sea,
I
my
never go
friend.
political. That stuff's fine on Twitter now. Now that Musk owns it, I mean,
Oh,
so,
the irony! Oh, the irony!
yeah. But
Anyway,
yeah,
so my goodness gracious, what do we have going on today? We have what was our Behold Nerds Destination Wedding?
Destination Wedding. We've got Battle Nerds, Tarzan versus not Iron Man, Tarzan versus Terminator.
Mm.
Iron Man and the results for Iron Man and the White Rabbit. By the way, what did you get?
Oh yeah, it was sorry, I had it. Hold on. It was like 2 and 3. I think it was 3 for Iron Man, 2 for Rabbit.
Okay, and then we've also got our Behold Nurse pick, which was Destination Wedding. And then always, as always, nerdy news.
Talking
and then
nerdy crap.
I don't know if you saw it yet, but I just saw it since I watched the first couple episodes. We could talk Ted because I knew you were interested in it.
Oh, I haven't seen New Ted yet. It's on Paramount or something, right?
No, it's on Peacock.
Oh, Peacock. I don't think I get Peacock.
It's worth. I mean, you can just sign up and watch it. It's pretty good. Anyway, and then I got a couple of rants if we're running long, if we're running short on time, or if we run out of content. And yeah, cool. And then also I guess we can talk more about our ideas for our original superhero universe pitches. I guess you want to start with, as always, nerdy news.
Yep, let's jump right into it.
Okay. So nerdy news. The first item I have is, and this was controversial. I don't understand why it was controversial personally.
I'll tell you why. What is it?
Okay. Christopher Reeve's family said they did not have any involvement in a CGI cameo in The Flash, and they haven't watched the film. So I'm not sure what that means. Like, it could just mean they weren't interested in seeing it.
Yeah.
But a lot of people were like, "Oh, that was so disrespectful." I mean,
of who?
Why?
Towards who? Who is that disrespectful to?
I know, but people were like, I guess, towards Christopher Reeves and his memory and stuff like that. But like, I did. Okay, look, the CGI didn't look great.
No,
I'll give him that. But it was just, I kind of thought it was like a nod.
Yeah, it's just a nod. They brought in freaking Nicolas Cage, bro. It was a nod to everybody.
He got pissed off about that, by the way.
I thought he was in for it. I thought he was all down for it.
No, he didn't like that.
Oh. And he's even fighting a giant spider, too. Like, I thought he was so on board.
I know, that was from the Kevin Smith story.
Right, exactly. So, I don't know. Whatever.
They brought in, like, the really old, I forget his name, but the
old,
black and white Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a nod to, like, what went before.
Yeah, that's
it was fine. It, like, I don't get why people were offended by that. I don't get why Christopher Reeve's family would be offended by it. I mean,
because it's the age of everybody being offended by something, Frosty.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, like, you're using someone's likeness for profit, and you're doing it like through
Yeah, I mean,
current
I can understand
technology.
it from that, but
But like, I don't know.
like maybe if they all get like a commission down the way, or was it a residual down the way, every
Yeah,
penny or something, like a penny for every viewing or something.
I mean, you could have pulled from the actual movie, and then it would just be like, I guess it depends on who owns the rights and all that. But
Right.
like, if they own the rights to Superman 1, they could have taken a scene from that and then done something with that.
But it
Because
would have
then
been the
it's
same
like,
thing. It would have been the same
well,
thing.
not really, because you're not creating something new with someone's image. You're taking something work that they've already done.
Right, but is that just
I
gonna
don't know. I just
sort of
think that,
splitting
like, I
hairs in the
do.
end? Like,
I know. I guess I just think you should get paid for what you do,
no,
and they
absolutely.
probably
So
and they probably would get a residual from that because he probably has that kind of thing set
right,
up with
because
his
usually
thing.
things like that are in perpetuity.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's I don't know. My brain doesn't care.
but at
So
the same time, it is like it's just a nod. It was just like, oh yeah, like check that out, check
yeah,
that out.
like when you, I think it was Carrie Fisher who said every time she looked in the mirror, she has to give George Lucas a quarter or something like that. Like when you become something like that, your likeness
Yeah.
forever is that. It's no longer about Christopher Reeves. It's about that's Superman. That's a
Well,
Superman. Anyways,
it's definitely something that has people split. But I again, I didn't really bother me at the time of watching it, and I
yeah,
just
it's
kind of
just
was like,
because it went through all of them respectfully.
yeah.
Yeah.
So creator Duncan, I'm gonna mess up his last name, Raulio,
Okay.
would love to make an adult animated. I guess he's a series creator. An adult animated Ben 10 series.
Oh
Direct
yeah.
quote: "It would be great to have a high stakes show with more mature themes, not so interested in gore or sexual content, but dealing with emotional, social, and political elements." So what are your thoughts on that, and what are your thoughts on Ben 10 as a
So
series? Because
the youngling grew up loving Ben 10. She had an
yeah, it's got
Omnitrix.
a big
It
following.
it's a cool show. It's an interesting show. We watched it
I
pretty
watched it,
faithfully.
so when it first came out, I
See, I
put
liked
it
it when he
on.
was older. Like it was better when he was older.
Yeah,
I
so when it first came out, I put it on. And I was like, "This isn't very good." And he had that like, time limit and stuff,
yeah
and
yeah
I was just like, "Eh." But then there was like another season where, like you said, he was older.
right
Like his sister was dating that one guy,
yeah like
and
Kevin with the muscle car or something. Yeah
yeah, and that was cool. And then that ended, and then they like Teen Titaned it, where they like went to like a silly version that was like much
yeah
more cartoony.
yeah
And as soon as that one came out, I just went nope,
yeah.
and I skipped that one.
Mm.
I thought it was a good show. I do think that because of that alien, what is it, Alien X?
Yeah, Alien X.
They like anytime you debate Ben 10 with people, they're like, no, he's a god. And it's like, and then like if you watch the show, I mean, watch it.
Right,
There's limitations to what that thing can do,
right,
and it even flat out states it.
right.
So yes, it's very powerful, but
It's
like,
cool that there are limits to it like that. Like that's
yeah,
always been interesting about it.
but like someone was comparing it. Actually, it was. Look, if you're watching this, we appreciate you watching, but you know me and you disagree all the time.
Mm.
But at Real Super Killers, he was talking about how he's like old school Marvel Beyonder power level.
Mm.
He's nowhere near that. It's
Yeah.
anyway. And then we were talking about the death battle thing
Mm.
and how like Green Lantern won against Ben 10,
Green
and he
Lantern
was like, yeah,
survived like the collapse of the like anti monitor or some shit.
yeah.
Like
I mean, that's the thing. Like the way Death Battle measures stuff
mm.
is they take like the character at like what they could theoretically do by adding all their feats together
Mm-hmm.
and going, this is how powerful this character could be.
Right,
And and that's the thing, like that's why DC usually crushes,
right,
is because it's been around forever, and
right.
writers go crazy with that shit.
Right. Well, DC's
and
always been like a pantheon of gods more so than Marvel. So
yeah, more so than Marvel, with the exception of a few characters.
Oh, you're right. But DC has always
yeah,
been
I mean,
like
it's
the Greek pantheon, if you will. Like
yeah,
I've always viewed them as that more so than Marvel. Marvel's just like, yeah, there's the superheroes where it's like, yeah, here's the fucking like gods. Like you don't fuck with them.
Yeah, I know. When you think of just like how powerful Flash is, for example,
right?
Anytime someone is like, "Is the Flash fast enough to shut up?" He is.
Right.
Yeah, you know. He's
faster than Superman. He's faster than instant teleportation.
He's so fast, yeah. That like if he was racing you, he could show up before the race started.
Right.
I mean, like,
like it's a Flash. But yeah. So, anyways, going back to Ben 10, God, I had fun watching it with the youngling. That's what I do. Is I had the Omnitrix, and it was a cool freaking toy. Like it could click and made all the noises, and it was very like tactile. It was satisfying when you would click it and move, and then you'd slap the thing, and I would have like a different...
I'm kind of annoyed though that like there are no regular aliens out there. And I know in the show again at Real Super Killers, and I talked about this that like he's like, well, the humans are considered unevolved and everything. That's why we don't have like powers like the rest of them. But I feel like there's got to be like most races that are just like regular,
right?
I mean, like every alien is like, I've got superpowers, right? You know, and that's a common trope. What was funny is though he kept when we got into this debate, he was like, "Well, what about the people on New Genesis? They're regular." I'm like, "No, they're not.
No, they're not.
They live in a place called like Super City or something like that.
They live in a cloud, like the Sky City."
And then he was like, "Well, what about the Asgardians?" And I'm like, "Your average Asgardian can lift 40 tons." I mean, I was like, "You keep picking the god tier race. Stop."
Okay. If humans were to be given a superpower, like what would be our superpower? We're plopped among a bunch of different aliens. This kind of ties into my project too, because it's like, okay,
in my mind, we came from I know, like, and I'm simplifying it obviously, but monkeys, you know what I mean? Apes,
right?
We are apes,
primates.
Yeah, I mean, and so like I think it would be like some kind of ability to tap into that, and so like we'd be like gorilla
thumb action.
No, like you could like tap into our gorilla like strength, or like the agility of a gibbon or something like that.
Like, the grace of a howler monkey. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I remember going to the zoo because, like, you know me, I'm a big animal nerd, and like I remember going to the zoo as our senior trip. Like you could pick like what trip you wanted to go on, and I was like zoo, of course. And like my friend went with me, and I was like, oh, dude, they got gibbons, and he was like, what's so great about gibbons? And I'm like, dude, they are like masters of fucking
like Spider-Man.
Yeah, no, and then he was
so
like,
quick.
And he was like blown away. He was like, yeah, and then it like grabbed. It looked like it fell, but it didn't. It grabbed, and then it swung itself up. And I was like, yeah, I told you, man, they're awesome.
Right.
So yeah, I reckon I would like go like that. Yeah, actually, for my original material, Vincent, I was drawing a comic book of his, and I kind of changed it up a little bit. But I wanted my old cat Pagan in it.
Right.
So I gave Pagan the power, like he just looked like a little black cat, but then he could tap into his animal powers, his ancestry, and
like
then
battle cat,
saber-tooth cat, and then like, and it saved his ass because it like crushed a vampire's skull in its mouth.
So I'd like to think that I would tap into my inner primate, where if threatened, I will flash my incisors and promptly eat your face and testicles.
I thought you were gonna say your red ass, like.
I mean that too. My swollen, puckered. yes. But usually monkeys know where to go. Go for the face. Go for the nuts, and just eat the face off. Then what?
I'm terrified.
They terrify me. Oh.
Yeah, chimpanzees, man. They're the ones that you got to watch out for. They're the murderers.
They're the thinkers.
What is it like? It's a true story. There's a river, and on one side of it is the chimpanzees, and the other side is like, I forget what species, but it's like a much more mellow, chilled out, like chimpanzee-like animal.
Right.
And like for some reason, like we were like, let's grab those fucking murder ones. That seems like a good idea. And instead of like the really chill, laid back ones, I don't know, man.
Right. I mean,
Like,
they're almost like people, but yeah, it terrifies me because
yeah, they're one of the few species that like go to war and shit.
oh
Like
yeah,
it's crazy.
God, there's a story that I heard God decades ago about a small town in India or Pakistan or something where wild monkeys came in and like took out the leader and just took over the town.
Yeah.
Like they figured out who the leader was and like came in at night and like I don't know what they did with the guy. But
I forget what there's a town where like it's one of those cities where there's like a bunch of like primates running around, you know. I don't know what species it's like. But anyway, they figured out that if they nab your phone, they can hold it ransom and then if you give them food, they'll give you your phone back.
Wow.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
They're learning. That's funny.
Anyway, but yeah, an adult Ben 10 series sounds good to me. Yeah, I know.
It's like holding it off a bridge.
They just like they're just holding it and they're just like putting out the other hand, like come on.
You go to get it, it
And
just
then,
runs up a
they
tree.
do give it back. They don't like fuck around. They're just like, here you go.
See, that's what that's what separates us from the monkey, is that the humans would probably turn around and shoot the damn thing if we, and that fair exchange. You know, you're a best.
Well, an American might,
right?
Like,
but anyways, Ben 10.
Yeah, no, an adult Ben 10 series would be cool.
What was your favorite alien Ben 10 alien?
Oh, I think Accelerate was
Accelerate
cool.
was cool. I liked because I like how they had like cool names. I like Monster Mud. That one was probably my favorite. And, was it Heat Blast?
Heat Blast. Yeah,
Heat Blast was fun. Because what I would do with that one, that'd be for the young landing. It would be fire tickles.
I don't know. I don't know all of them, obviously, but I just remember Accelerate. I like the speed and stuff like that.
What was fun with the youngling, when I would push her on the swing, she'd pretend to be Jet Ray. So she'd Jet Ray every time I push her.
Shut my mouth. My favorite is the one that becomes Ultraman.
Oh yeah. Oh God, I forgot about that one.
Way big.
Way big.
Yeah, that one.
I forgot all about Way Big.
Yeah, it was dope.
Yeah, that's cool.
Anyway, so yeah, but an adult series, I'm down for that. Make it. Just shut up and take my money. Sounds awesome.
Oh yeah.
Jeffrey Wright says he hasn't seen the script for the Batman 2 yet. Oh. I'm being patient, letting Matt Reeves do his thing, which is going to be magical and wonderful. So I really liked The Batman.
So
it weirdly enough, though, it's not a Batman movie that I return to. I watched it. I was like, wow, this was really good. And then I just like haven't watched it again.
So I actually did rewatch it. It's still good. It's a solid. It's a good like Batman, like a young Batman noir film. It's nice. And
no, the one thing that I like, I mean, I guess they were trying to do it like he's learning to be a detective.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that was it. It felt like Batman Year One. Much, so.
Which is cool. I'm okay with that because we haven't really explored that cool. in the movies yet. But I heard that we're getting Mr. Freeze in the next one. Rumor.
I think I remember hearing that. Like, yeah.
And
you know what's interesting about Mr. Freeze is like the current Mr. Freeze is purely a result of the animated series,
which is fantastic. Because
I know, but it was way different before then.
I know, but the animated series. So I remember watching it because it was a two-parter, Heart of Ice. I remember watching that for the first time, and that is what made me love that character. Was that? Yeah, and I think that was the one that went on to go win the daytime Emmy. I think was Heart of Ice. God, it was so good.
Even though it's terrible, I can't help but like when Schwarzenegger played him. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. God, let's take 3 awesome Batman rogues and just make them not anything close. It's like they could have just handed them off to Michael Bay and it would have been like the same result. It just a shadow of who they actually are.
I didn't like. I mean, it was fun to do the Bane voice, but like, I didn't like
Oh, Tom Hardy.
that Bane. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh,
I feel like the only good Bane there really has been is the Bane in the comic book, the original Bane. I think that's the best Bane
yeah,
from the Nightfall series.
yeah.
But yeah. Anyway,
Well, he's
uh,
what was he from? Santa Presca? Is that what you
yeah,
said?
it was like his dad did a bunch of
Yeah, and he
crimes
had
and
to
like,
pay for his father's crimes, and
yeah, like
yeah,
he was still a baby in the womb, and they're like, yeah, and so then um, and then like the warden gave him that experimental venom,
right.
and then he killed a guy because when he came out, he was still a kid, so they threw him in the hole, and
Hmm.
he would like fill up with seawater every night, and he would like hunt fish and stuff like that, and like nobody ever survived this, and then he did,
Right.
and then he started building his crew on the inside, and then
Mm,
like and he would listen to tales about Batman. And he was like, "Yeah, I gotta beat Batman,"
right.
and like, yeah, and the way he did it was smart. He wore him down, you
Right,
know.
right, and that's what's cool. But then let's take Bane and make him, oh, oh,
Bomb.
oh, yeah. Just what? Ah, ah. It's like what Michael Bay did with Transformers. They're unrecognizable. Who are who? What is this? What is this beast here? Anyways, um, yeah.
Anyway, Batman
Anyway,
2. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be good. I mean, I like I said, I have complete faith in Matt
I
Reeves.
can't wait to see a modern take. I always peg Patrick Stewart as like if I were to pick my perfect Mr. Freeze casting would be Patrick Stewart. I mean, he's old now, but like
Yeah.
younger Patrick Stewart, 1,000%. I think he could capture like the tragedy of the character because he's essentially a Shakespearean tragedy is how they've written him in the animated series. So I like that.
Yeah,
I
like
can think he could nail it.
I could see it. I could see it. I don't know who I'd cast, but like, um, yeah, like I also like the fact that we're getting that and a more kind of fantasy based Batman
Mm,
because I kind of prefer the more fantasy element one,
yeah,
but I'm down for a gritty like noir as well, you know, like and I like the fact that I don't have to choose.
you
I
know
hate the fact that like everybody like even when people are talking about like the DCEU and then the MCU and they're like, oh, it's so much better. It's like,
why can't you
dude,
have
no,
both?
it's like it's good we have both. Just be
Right,
happy, you know.
right. Should be a competition.
Um, Anyway, oh, so we were talking about that group chat that Kevin Hart was on that we were
Hmm.
both like super jealous
Right,
action characters.
right.
Um, so I found out there's another group chat. This is not a Kevin Hart thing, but it's uh, Cillian Murphy, Emily Blunt, and Robert Downey Jr. They're on an Oppen Homies group chat and still use it and talk regularly. Apparently, Christopher Nolan is not included as he doesn't
He
have a
doesn't. Yeah.
phone.
So he doesn't. Okay. So Nolan doesn't use phones. Not like we do. Not cell phones. If you want to get a hold of him, you call him. Like I've heard of. I've heard of this. He's just that's just his ism. He's one of those eccentric creators. Like that's his thing. Like
I mean, if that's
I,
his thing, you know.
as I've heard of that, I was like, okay, he's man, simple man. You want to talk to me? Talk to me on the phone. No bullshit with texting. I
Look,
appreciate it.
I mean, being on a group chat though with Emily Blunt and Robert Downey Jr. does sound pretty cool.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I would love it. I mean, just like I'll be Oppen homie. I don't care. Anyway, Daniel, again, I'm butcher his last name, Kaluuya, says the popularity of Spider Punk in Across the Spider Verse caught him off guard. A lot of people come up to me like, "My kid loves you." He's not in the film that much, so I think that caught me by surprise.
Mm,
You know what? I have never liked Spider Punk. I always thought Spider Punk was like a lame looking costume.
mm.
Then I saw that movie, and I was like, "This is the best character." So I get it. I mean, and sometimes the best character, like who is the coolest character in Star Wars? Boba Fett.
Right.
He had like 3 lines. I mean, like
Right. But
it doesn't matter. Like
so that's when you know you've done good. It's not about the amount of time you're on screen. It's about the quality. It's about the character. It's about people being able to see this thing and being able to extrapolate from it. That's good storytelling. That's what Lucas
yeah.
did.
And
is
like, let's face it, like when Spider Punk was on the screen, he was the one you're
oh
watching.
he chewed up every scene
Yeah,
all the time.
yeah. I mean,
I like how he dipped out at the end. That was fun. But I never knew of his character really up until the movie. So
I didn't really know of his character either, other than like anytime you play a Spider-Man game, there's always the Spider Punk costume,
mhm.
and I was like, Alex is dumb, and so I just and then I saw it, and then I was like, oh wait, this is actually cool, you know.
Right, right.
And I should have liked it more being British. Despite being British, I've never been into punk culture like at all.
Mm,
I went more metal, so you
right.
know,
You
like,
just keep moving in that same direction.
yeah.
But yeah, he was one of my favorite characters in
Oh,
Spider-Man.
he's dope.
Yeah, he was cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it goes to show that good character, good design, and doesn't matter your screen time. Like that's cool. Less is more sometimes.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yep.
Um, so let's see. James Gunn says that Henry Bram
Mm,
will return as a cinematographer for Superman Legacy. Bram has worked with Gunn on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3
mm,
and the Suicide Squad, as well as working. This is the one. It's like I wouldn't list that one.
mm.
Recently working on the Flash.
So
Um,
so
but yeah,
I heard that James Gunn came out and said that he's going to use as much practical effects as possible in this movie. So we I like this thing.
there's gonna be a lot of like character cameos. Like I don't know if you noticed.
So I
He
heard
listed all the-
Lobo. That's the one that I've.
There's like Hot Girl, this, that, the other. There's like a bunch of them. Like they just, it basically it's taking place in a world where superheroes already exist, as far as I can tell.
Okay, and then
So I
Superman
think,
sort of emerges. Okay,
yeah.
okay. Yeah, interesting, but okay. I mean, there were heroes before Superman. They just didn't really.
Well, yeah, he was the one that like is kind of the archetype
Right.
for a while though. Fucking Captain Marvel.
I was going to say
surpassed him.
it was Captain Marvel, right? Shazam.
No, like Superman's the archetype, is where the superhero term comes from and everything. But for a while, Captain Marvel did surpass him in popularity.
Right.
And then it went back to Superman.
But anyways,
But yeah,
practical
like
effects on.
as far as cinematography, though, I mean, I thought the Suicide Squad and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 were both excellent. So,
All right.
yeah, I'm down. I mean, people are giving James Gunn a hard time about like how he's working with all the people he's worked with in the past. We've talked about this before.
That's
It's
stupid.
like
Watch any.
that's what
James
people do. Like
Right.
if you have a successful project, you know you can work with these people well.
Right.
You know, like,
It's
and I
like
mean, it's not like the Snyder guys. I mean, like Zack Snyder's wife is his producer. You know what I
right.
mean? Like
Uh,
because like he's putting James Gunn's putting his wife in a lot of scenes and stuff like that.
so you have Harrison Ford, who is in American Graffiti, George Lucas, and then George Lucas is like, hey, let's do this thing for Star Wars, and he does a Star Wars, and Lucas is like, hey, let's do this Indiana Jones thing, and he does an Indiana Jones thing. Like, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up. Tarantino, it's another big one. Shut the fuck up. It just
Yeah, no.
like it's those actor groups like Adam Sandler. You get all of his buddies shut the fuck up. Usually with the comedians, they do that. They get all their buddies. Fucking
Well, Adam Sandler, like, because like everybody gives him shit about his movies, and he's like, and he's like, oh, I don't give a shit. My movies always make money,
right,
and I go on vacation with all my friends,
right,
making these movies because it's always in some like interesting part of the world.
right.
And like, yeah, it's like, yeah, he's kind of cracked it, you know. I was just thinking. Remember, one of our Behold nerds was Punch Drunk Love. I was just thinking about that movie recently.
That
How
was an
he's
odd
like,
movie. That was a really odd movie.
it was odd, but like I liked it. I liked how he had the freakish displays of strength, and he wore the blue suit.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so the theory was he was like a
He was
fallen Superman.
right? Interesting.
Yeah, like yeah, I just thought it was cool. But anyway, I'm still excited for Superman Legacy. I really am. I think it's going to be. Well, I hope it's going to be good. Oh, so this pisses me off. Just tell us now. The release date for Part 2 of Invincible Season 2 drops next week. So we get like the release date. They're not even going to tell us now. They're just telling us that they're going to tell us next week.
Oh, a trailer for a trailer?
Yeah, I know. It's like, come on, guys. Like, just unless like, are you still really working it out, or are you just being dicks about it?
I think they're just being dicks. They have the carrot and the stick, and they know this.
Yeah, I know. I hated the fact that that season got split in half.
Right.
It just like takes all the wind out of your sails. It's
It
just
kind of
like,
does,
well,
because then it's like, oh god, where did it leave off? What happened?
yeah, and you're
Yeah.
4 episodes in, and you're super hyped, and then it's like, no, come back later. And you're like, damn it. I watched Invincible season 1 like 3 times. Like,
Hmm.
I love it. It's my favorite. Um, Marvel is working on new plans for its slate of street level heroes,
Hmm.
as well as planning the future of Echo. Past seasons of Daredevil have reportedly done really well on Disney Plus recently. So I think Daredevil is their strongest
So
show.
I heard Daredevil went through a complete rewrite and reshoot, and
Yeah, so that was my next thing. Born
yeah,
Again, originally it was going to be 18 episodes, but they instead decided to keep it in line with Netflix and their count, where each season is 13 episodes.
right. So I heard initially that they were going to kill off Foggy, and forgive me for forgetting her name, but they apparently there's a bunch of backlash, so they brought them back. Your phone's really close to whatever speaker.
It's under the mic. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Um, but anyways, I hope it's good. I thought all of Daredevil's cameos so far have been great. People, the internet has been rattling over. Oh, it's like no, it's been fine. It's been Daredevil. Um, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, I'm glad that they have taken the time to rewrite and retool things. It's always good.
Yeah, I mean, if it's what it needed, it's what it needed.
Right.
I mean, I'm excited though. I know this sounds weird because if I were to name my top favorite DC character and top favorite Marvel character, they're both powerhouses.
Mm,
But I do genuinely prefer kind of more of the street level characters.
right.
I just like weaker characters because
They
they
feel
can't just be
vulnerable.
like, oh yeah, they can't just be like, ah, I'm more powerful than you. You know what I mean? They have to
Right.
like think and stuff. And I like very agile characters, so characters like Daredevil appeal to me.
Yeah, yeah.
My first exposure to Daredevil was, do you remember that old school Hulk show?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there was like a made for TV movie where he teams up with Daredevil.
Really?
Yeah, and I was just blown away by like this Daredevil character. And so yeah, ever since then I've been a big fan of Daredevil. Except I have to admit, I tried to buy some, and at the time, I was like 8. The comics didn't make a lot of sense to me, and they were kind of a little dark.
Yeah.
And so I had a hard time getting into the comics, but I still
Mm,
like the character. Um, but yeah, it was a lot of stuff with Elektra and Voodoo and stuff like that, and I was
yeah.
like, what am I even reading? Like,
Mm.
but no, I do like Daredevil a lot. I think he's a cool character. Did you ever see that like bit where someone like was like, "Hey, Batman," he's like, "No, I'm Daredevil," and he's like, "But you use," he's like, "I use sonar and stuff
You
like
know what's
that,"
funny?
and
I
then
was just thinking of that this morning.
yeah, and then she was like, what? He's like, "Yeah, but I'm Daredevil and stuff," and then she's like, "What's your name?" And then he's like, "I'm Ghost Rider." You see, my father was a daredevil who died in it, and I was a daredevil as well, and my father died, and then I made a deal with the devil, and then she's like, "Why aren't you daredevil?"
That's great. Actually, that does make sense. Why? I think he'd be cool. Like, oh, here's Daredevil. He comes up on his bike. That'd be cool. And it's,
Have
you
you
know what?
seen
It's
the
on the nose enough to where it's like, God damn it, why wasn't it that?
have you seen the recent creation of Cosmic Ghost Rider?
No.
It's an alternate. It was in the Thanos wins thing where he finally marries death or whatever.
Mm.
But so basically, Ghost Rider, Frank Castle gains the spirit of vengeance and becomes Ghost Rider, and then he becomes the Herald of Galactus. So
Fuck
it's
yeah.
Cosmic Ghost Rider. He's like riding around in space. Uh,
which is funny because in the old Fantastic Four TV shows, Ghost Rider who took out Galactus was the Penance Stare.
yeah.
So why it's like okay, give an OP character.
It's debatable whether or not that would work though, because he's more of a force of nature. Like you
Yeah.
couldn't penance stare a cougar.
Right.
because it's just a cougar. Like it only works for like things that are like sentient and hurt people.
Or
Like
like it wouldn't work on Phoenix then, would it?
I don't know. I don't think so. But
I don't think it would work.
yeah, it's interesting either way. But I love it when Marvel does stuff like there was a really cool. It was called Circle of Hell, I think.
Mm.
And it was a series where Red Hulk, um, Ghost Rider, and Venom,
Mm.
but what's his name? Venom, Flash Thompson,
Flash
Venom.
Thompson.
Yeah, they get like stuck in this like area, and then what's the big Ghost Rider villain's name? Darkheart or whatever.
Yeah.
Like Red Hulk, he's an Avenger now, and he realizes, oh fuck, it's Darkheart. Like we need backup, but they're like stuck together, like with him,
Mm.
and it's like pulling them down into hell,
Mm.
and so they're trying to like stop it, and like there's this bit where they're like, okay, we needed to distract him, like we need something,
Mm.
and then so like I forget who was like, I got an idea, and then like Darkheart's like up in his tower, like there's nothing they can do. And then he's like, oh my God, I did not see that coming. And it's Red Hulk with the Venom symbiote riding a trike version of the fucking
Oh yeah,
Ghost
you
Rider,
said a
his head on
yeah.
the fire. And he's like, we am slam for justice. And like, it's so good. And then he goes and fights them while they try and do it. And then on the outside, like Doctor Strange is like trying, and what's his name? You never see this guy very often. Is it Adam? It's the son of Satan. There's a character in Marvel who's that's his whole thing is he's the son of the devil. I forget his name though, but
It's not something with an M, or is it? It's not Star Fox, is it?
no,
Who am I thinking?
you're thinking of the Star Fox is well.
No, because there's like two characters that I get confused over. It's oh, never mind. My nerd.
Damien Hellstrom, that's his name.
Okay.
Son of Satan.
Damien Hellstrom. That's a cool name.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I like it when they do stuff like that. They just have a little fun and they just slam characters together.
Right.
They do it a lot in like obviously other like there was this universe where like the Avengers got like lost and so it was kind of their kids. And my favorite part, and so like their kids like were using their gear and stuff like that. And it was God, what was it? It was the daughter of Captain America and Rogue. And so she had Rogue's powers and Captain America's shield. And nobody could pick up Thor's hammer. This big battle, and she gets knocked through the forest because she was like one of the more powerful ones. And then she comes out with Thor's hammer and the shield and stuff like that. And it was a badass moment. Thor's son was pissed off though. He was like, "Hey, this is my hammer," but he was yet to be able to pick it up. So
that's funny.
It was cool though because like I can't remember all of them, but it was like they obviously they coupled up the Avengers, and then these were their kids, so they had like amalgams of their powers and stuff like that.
Right. Which I mean, it would make sense that she would be able to pick up Mjolnir because Captain America and all.
Yeah, true.
Wholesome.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So the last thing I have is TR3N, also known as Tron 3, which I didn't even know they were making. Has begun filming, starring Jared Leto, Evan Peters, Cameron Monaghan, Greta Lee, and Jodie Turner-Smith.
I'm glad that Jared Leto is still getting money. Let's keep giving him money. I feel like he's teetering on going Ezra Miller in some degree.
Really?
I just see.
I just feel. I mean, the Morpheus was pretty bad. My favorite thing is that they tricked the studio though, and then they re-released it, and then like nobody went and saw it, and then they wrote like a letter to the studio like, "We were all busy that weekend. I'm sorry. Can you please release it again? We promise we'll go."
And they did.
That was hilarious. But anyway, Tron 3. So, what are your thoughts?
I
Is that something you would watch, or do you not interested?
I
Or
know Mrs. Cap would watch it. I don't care.
did you not like the last Tron or the
I
first
like the
Tron?
music. So it's been a million and a half years since I've seen the first Tron. Actually, no, I saw it maybe probably 5 years ago. Probably years ago, I rewatched it. The new one that came out, The
Oh,
music
see,
the music was great. The visuals were stunning.
I'm the opposite. The first one, I was like, I because people talked about it in the '80s, like it was amazing.
Oh, it was boring. The first one is so boring. It
And I
was
was just kind of like, okay. And my brother, I think, was a fan. But then I was like, okay, let's Tron 2. Let's check this film out.
mm,
Fucking loved it. I had such a blaster in that movie. And
mm,
so the idea of Tron 3, yeah, hell yeah. Also, I know I'm not like not like everybody wants one,
mm.
but I want the fucking Tron bike
A
because
light
I mean,
cycle.
yeah, because how cool is that? Like you have a stick and then you
Mm,
just do this, and then all of a sudden,
right,
and they turn at 90-degree angles.
right.
And even if I'm like, even
Yeah.
if like all the cars around me are like, and like, so what? Nobody's gonna know. Like, soon I just put the thing in my pocket and walk away, and no one's gonna know I did anything. They'll just be like, this fucking thing went through here, just like,
You.
yeah, you don't even have to activate the walls. And it's what I love is it like it's just Snake.
Yeah.
That's all it
That's
is,
all it
but
is.
they
Is
make it like the coolest fucking thing ever.
so
Um,
yeah. Here's how I view Tron. I never really cared for the first one. I didn't really like it. I don't dislike it. It's just it's whatever.
yeah,
It's visually stunning for its time. It is visually
yeah.
stunning.
Though I forget how the method they use, but oh, they hand painted each one.
Yeah, and long ago at Disneyland, the People Mover attraction that the track is there, but the attraction has been long gone. There was a Tron section that you would go through, and it was cool because you go through the little People Mover, and they had these big screens, and it was a light cycle scene, and it was super cool. And I didn't really care for it as a kid, like the movie itself, but I thought it looked cool. And then
Yeah.
the new movie came out. I thought the music was great, the visuals were great. Did I like it more than the first one? Yes, but I didn't love the movie. I was actually kind of bored again with the
Yeah, I
movie.
wasn't. I loved it. I was totally.
There's a lot of again. I'm like you on this one. Like I can appreciate the visual aspect of it more than
Yeah.
the story.
No, see, I dug the story, like, and he meets the girl in the game, and then he brings her into the real world at the end, and like, just like how it paid tribute to the movie before it, and just him experiencing this world, like they nailed the Luke Skywalker character. That's like, what's going on here? You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
I just there was so much in that movie that I enjoyed that I just and it wasn't bloated. It was
No.
tight, nice, like
It was. Again, there's a lot that I liked about the movie, and I definitely liked it more than the first movie. It's
yeah.
just, eh.
Yeah, well,
It doesn't
fair
tickle
enough.
me, but I love like that the fucking sticks, and I love how now it turns like this big old like hover thing, and like,
Yeah.
and at Disney what they did was they turned a section of California Adventure into like a Tron zone at night, and it was fucking cool. And you'd walk down the street, and they'd have all the projections, and they had a big replica thing of one of those ships that was there, and the music was blasting. It was fucking cool. I just the movie itself, it was just whatever. But
Yeah,
this
fair
the
enough.
spectacle
Not
was awesome.
everybody likes it. I mean, like, for me, it was.
I'm not hating on it. That's all
No,
I'm
I know.
saying.
It's fine. I don't. Everybody has their
Mm,
own opinion. For me, it was awesome, and so if they can make Tron 3 as good as Tron 2, then hell yeah.
go.
Plus, I'm interested. We were talking like before about how it's like, oh, I don't think they need another one of these, and you were like, but I need to know. I feel like that with Tron 2
Mm,
because it ended with her in the real world and like what's happening next. You know what I
right,
mean? And like, so yeah, I need to know.
right.
Inquiring minds and all that.
Inquiring minds. Anyways,
So that's all I got for the news. Do you have anything?
yeah, so I have a couple things. So apparently for the Sport Bowl 2024 that is coming up in a couple weeks, we are going to be getting our
You know
first
that.
look at Deadpool 3. It is rumored we are going to be getting a trailer. We're also probably going to be getting a Dune 2 trailer. I'm hearing some chatter about Deadpool 3. Apparently, both Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman are sort of at odds with Disney right now over some scenes that they desperately want to keep in there. That Disney is saying, no, it's too violent. It needs to come out. We can't have this in there. And apparently it's all about the third act where we're sort of following Wolverine through the different eras and the different wars that he was a part of. Because he's a Wolverine. Just show that montage of him just mowing people down.
Yeah.
And apparently...
That was the best part of that one Wolverine movie, was him and Sabretooth fighting.
Right, like that's cool. So they take that and expand it, but throughout all the eras. And I know we've seen it in some degrees throughout some of the other movies, but apparently Iger and Feige and other studio heads are saying it's way too violent, way too violent, way too violent. And again, we're promised an R-rated movie. The fear is that it's going to be like a diet R movie, which would kind of suck, because you can't neuter that. Like, you don't, especially when you have Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. Apparently, it's such an issue where both of them are threatening to not promote the movie if they don't let them be creative and just have creative control over their film, because I think they have a better idea of what the fans want out of this movie than the studio heads. So I know, fingers crossed. Apparently, they're doing some reshoots. I saw some videos of Wolverine with Dogpool, or not Wolverine, Deadpool with Dogpool, which is awesome. We also see another very handsome-looking Deadpool. You know, it's funny. From what I'm hearing from the story leaks, it's almost... It reminds me of what I pitched with my Deadpool movie, where they eventually sort of go and make fun of like the woke culture, but apparently one scene that has everybody behind the scenes in an uproar is that the X-women show up at the end and they go up against like the Fox normal X-Men, and the X-women defeat the Fox women, or the Fox women defeat the X-Men, and apparently, oh my God, you can't have, no, that's funny. Like, I would accept that in this movie, because that's the whole point. It seems like they're going to be making fun of the world right now and satirizing everything that's, you know, has everybody a rabble. I'm excited for it. However, I'm okay with all that. Just let them say F-bombs. Let them tell the story. Apparently there's some issues with the She-Hulk actress. I forget her name. Apparently she was in the movie originally, but she had diva issues, so Ryan Reynolds had to come out and make sure, no, she needs to leave. She can't be a part of this project. She's causing too many problems, so they had to...
That's surprising. She seems pretty chill to me.
I know. That's unfortunate.
She came out and said that we're not getting a season 2 of
She-Hulk.
Yeah. One of my rants. She-Hulk is too expensive.
Yeah.
What was funny is this one guy posted. So she came out and said, "Yeah, She-Hulk is too expensive. It was like something like $225 million to make."
Right.
And then like this one guy's like, yeah, you know, they say this, but what really matters is ratings and viewership. And I'm like, okay, so what are the numbers? Because they never actually released them, but all third-party sites like say that like it did fantastic.
Right.
And then he was like, well, why would they cancel it then? She just said it was too expensive to make. It happens all the time.
Right.
Like Friends, for example. Friends was a massive hit.
Right.
They canceled it because the salary of the people in it was so high they couldn't afford to keep making it.
You know what I'm surprised is still hasn't hit that level yet is The Simpsons. Yeah. Good God, because every one of those actors is paid tens of millions of dollars an episode, and the show isn't like good anymore. I don't
think it's bad, but
it's not. It's not good anymore.
Yeah, I think it's good. I just don't. It's just you're comparing it to Legendary.
Right. Okay. Yes.
Well,
yes, I am. Yes. Dad,
yeah, I know, but that doesn't mean it's bad. Like, okay, for example, here's the thing. If I was, I mean, my grandparents have passed away, but if I was at my parents' house and they didn't have fancy TV,
Mm.
and I'm just sat there and I'm like, what am I going to watch? And I'm flipping through regular TV channels with commercials, and The Simpsons is on. Even if it's a new season episode, I know I can watch that for the 22 minutes and at least be entertained, even if it's the new season. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think it's bad. I think it's good. I just don't think it rise. It'll never rise to the level of what once was. Um, and that's my point. But
As far as
um,
it having it as ambient white noise, sure. I wouldn't be opposed. Whatever, ambient white noise. There's The Simpsons. Cool. I'm doing dishes. I'm doing
I've
laundry.
watched a few episodes recently. One of them had me in stitches.
Really?
I can't remember what happened, but I was just like, "This is hilarious!" Like,
But you can't remember what happened, and that's what's
well,
important.
I mean, there is stuff I remember, like the bit where Martin like comes home from school, and he's like, "Bye, chum," and then and he gets punched in the stomach, and then he's like, "La, la, la," and then as soon as he gets in the house, he slowly changes, and like he's got a baby, and his wife is like there, and he's like, I have to go to school. It's work for me. It's soul crushing. And then she's like, well, then why don't you quit then, Morton, or whatever his name is? And he's like, because the police needed someone inside the school. I'm sorry, it's funny. I'm not gonna fucking apologize for thinking it's hilarious. Like
So,
they do have good.
so
There's
there's
still gold there.
to its credit, there was one again. I just tuned in randomly, and again, it was a newer episode, but it was a rerun. I just had like FX on, and they were playing one of their marathons, and I forget the bit. It was just Rod and Todd, and they were aged up, but they
Yeah.
still look the same. It's just take Rod and Todd and just stretch them out to adult bodies, and both of them had really deep voices, and they were talking like Rod and Todd. It's like, oh, Daddy, what about so and so? And
Yeah.
it was just funny because here's these grown up kid deep voice. I laughed and I was like, oh, thank you, yes.
That's what I mean. I don't think it's actually bad. I just think it's just,
So it's the jokes per minute, right? That's what it boils down to. Like The Simpsons and its legendary phase for 22-minute episode, you can get 22 solid jokes in a solid episode, easy.
well, I personally think it's the layering. Like their jokes before were just so heavily layered
Right.
that like there was like Dan's favorite scene is where like this man's over 97% fat, and then he's like, yeah, shut up and all that. There's so much like different levels to that joke. Whereas now they just be like, oh, fat, ha, ha, ha.
Right.
And so like that's the difference. But
Right.
there is still some gold in there. And like I said, I can't remember what happened but I just remember watching a Simpsons episode recently, and I was just dying of laughter through the whole thing. And I was like, fuck, is it really this good? But the next one came on and it wasn't as good. But
Right.
whatever.
For some reason, yesterday I just had dental plan. Lisa
Yeah,
needs braces.
Lisa needs braces. I know. I haven't seen
Dental
Lisa.
plan.
But what was I saying? Oh yeah, so then yeah, another show that was canceled because it was way too expensive, like She-Hulk. I don't know if you remember, there was a show that they had like 3 episodes of, and it was like to save the planet, half the population like went back to the Jurassic period and started trying to
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and like the CGI, it looked like Jurassic Park. It was like really they put like a ton of effort into that.
Right.
And they were like, we can't make these, and it's like, why not? People love them, and it's like the cost. It's just like we're not gonna ever recoup our money back.
Right.
And I mean, She-Hulk. What people don't realize is it's a CGI like human character, hardest thing on planet to pull off.
Right.
Yeah, and she's like that from most of the show.
Right.
And so yeah, and then the other thing I got to point out, and I pointed this out before, you listen to these armchair assholes on Twitter like bitching about the CGI and She-Hulk, and then then you talk to an actual VFX artist, or even like if you watch VFX Reacts, they have a completely different opinion to that. Right. They're like, why is everybody shit on Marvel lately? And they're like, they like analyzed all the different scenes with She-Hulk, and they're pointing out like because people are like, why does Mark Ruffalo look so good and she looks so bad? Because he's a dude. And I know that sounds weird, but they got like textures and stuff like that.
Right.
Whereas a woman's skin is much more smooth.
Right.
And also they've been working on the Mark Ruffalo CGI like
For years.
for that character for like a decade.
Right.
Where they're only just now starting with the She-Hulk one.
Right. I thought the CGI was fine. You know what?
There was one scene
I
where
thought
she
the
looked
CGI
kind of
was
rubbery, but
I thought the worst looking CGI was at the very end when she was fighting Kevin Feige or whatever. Like I thought the CGI robot just looked terrible. I thought that was the worst.
There was one scene I thought where she looked a little rubbery, and that one scene that they like the VFX reacts people, they were like, "Yeah, okay, she looks a little bit rubbery there." But other than that, it was fine.
Yeah,
but did you have anything else?
No, that was it. I can go on another Star Wars rant, but I'm going to reserve my.
All right. Well, I guess do you want to jump in? Well, okay, I'll do a quick review. So, Ted has dropped on Peacock. I watched the first 2 episodes. Yeah, it's good. If you know what they should do is now that we've got the first season of Ted out, they should make a Ted movie. Wow, where they're like Ted aged up,
right?
No, it was good. The same sort of humor, same. It takes place with like him when he's like a kid, and I mean it's kind of like that classic '80s family with like the mom and then the dad's like always pissed off and stuff,
right?
And the mom's like God, like blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? Doing her hair and then for some reason they have. I guess it's his cousin or something lives there too. And the first episode is like Ted goes to school with him, even though he's never had to go to school before, and he's trying to get out of school, so he needs drugs to do that. So because he gets caught with drugs, so then they buy pot for the first time and stuff like that, and then it's pretty good. It's got the humor down. I definitely enjoy it.
Yes. I'm not sure if it's related, but that scene again with Liam Neeson in the checkout line when he's buying a.
Well, it was definitely a promotion for the show.
It was so goddamn funny, so goddamn funny. Anyways, yeah, I hope to check it out. Fellow nerd Dan seems to really enjoy it, so yeah, I'm glad it's good. I didn't even realize it was coming out. I didn't realize it was a thing. So.
Hang on one sec.
Yes, sir. Where's the kitty?
Oh. Actually, no, he is in here somewhere.
Lurking.
Give me a second.
See, I don't like having an animal where at any moment I don't know exactly where it is. Like.
Yeah, cats are not. Okay, there he is. Shouldn't have done that. Ah.
Oh God. Anyway, so shut up and take my money. Yes, Ted.
Yeah, definitely, it's good. I haven't watched more, but I will. It's just something I kind of put on like The Simpsons. Like, it's good. I enjoy it, but I don't know. Like, I'm doing a lot of time. I'm just trying to like sleep. So
right.
Anyway, so yeah, let's jump into. Do you want to do Behold Nerds?
Yeah, we can do Behold Nerds. So
okay.
Yeah, so this would be our weekly segment where we each take turns picking some type of media to consume, whether it be movie, reading something. Just we encourage everybody at home to participate so we can discuss it. This week it was my pick, and I wasn't sure what to pick until Frosty started talking about rom-coms, and that got me to thinking of a recent rom-com that came out with Keanu Reeves and oh my goodness, I'm blanking on her name again.
Winona Ryder.
Winona Ryder. Destination Wedding. Mrs. Cat, this is one of her new favorite movies. She watches it pretty regularly. Really good movie. Like I hadn't heard of it until she was watching it at one point. I went upstairs. I'm just doing my thing, and I start watching this movie. It's like this is really good. So Frosty had never seen it or heard of it, so this is his first time seeing it, which I'm always glad when this happens. So, Mr. Frosty, what did you think?
Okay, so we were talking about the only like romantic film, it's not a rom-com though because it's a drama, but
Mm,
that I ever really liked, and that was Before Sunrise, and I
mm,
kind of like that series. There's a whole Before series now.
mm.
And I mentioned it was a talkie, and then you were talking about Destination. But this is a talkie. A talkie is where it's two characters,
Hmm.
and like it's just them talking to each other.
Right,
There's stuff happening around them, but the
right.
point is the
It's a
conversation they're
deep
having.
conversation. Yes.
Yeah. And so I enjoyed that aspect. You don't see a lot of those.
Mm.
I enjoyed both the characters. I thought they were really good. It was neat to see this uh kind of dead to the world version of Keanu Reeves. It's basically these two broken people that meet each other, they hate each other,
Right.
but they got nothing else to do, so they're just hanging out with each other the
Right.
whole time.
They're each invited to a destination wedding.
Yeah.
I think, my goodness, it's the brother or the ex of one is marrying the brother
Yeah,
of the
so
other.
Winona Ryder's character, it's her ex, and then it's Keanu Reeves' brother. They
Right.
both don't like him, but they both showed up because Keanu Reeves like she's trying to be the bigger person, and
Right.
he's like, his mom was like, if you don't show up, then you're objectively an asshole. Whereas
Right.
if you do show up, then it's like people say you're an asshole,
Asshole.
but you might not be.
Right. You can contest
Um,
it. There's room for challenging. Um,
yeah, and the banter between them, it was clever and funny. They're
mm,
talking about like how his dad left his mom for an even older woman, and then they were like talking about like you got to make sure there's morgues nearby and stuff like that. So it was funny. Like I enjoyed their little banter. I enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed watching them get to know each other.
mm.
Um, and yeah, like the ending.
The ending is
Basically,
great.
it ends with like Keanu's character being like, "No, this is it." It's very. And he's like, "Yeah, it was really nice to meet you." She gets in the cab and she gives out her address to the cab driver,
Mm,
and then he sat at home. He's just kind of like looking around at shit like nothing to do,
right.
and then he sees the chocolate that they shared in the hotel,
Hmm.
and so he decides to knock on her door, and that's the end of the movie.
Right.
And yeah, so it was good. Like there was a certain kind of
There's a cynicism to the whole
yeah,
movie.
but
Like,
she was talking about how there's like hope,
right.
and like what if this is a miracle, and don't you want to say yes to the miracle?
Right.
And whereas he didn't, but then like I think he wanted to try it because he was very much a broken. They were both broken people.
Right. Right.
Um, and so yeah, it was great, and I dug watching everything happen around them as
Yeah, that was
well.
the best part. There's a
You
kid,
know,
and then
like
like a
like
kid
the
would run by. The world
yeah,
is reacting. Is just carrying on around them while they're just deeply engaged in this conversation.
yeah, like they're at the wedding, and or they're like and or there's one part where they're like doing activities, and like they've got those big inflatable suits that we run at
They're
each
running
other.
at each other.
They're just sitting there in the shade, like in their little inflatable suits, just talking. And then you see like people running by and stuff,
Right.
or like they're at the dinner party and you're watching the guests interact, and like you can actually follow the
The
guests like
story,
in
yeah, you can
different
follow the
people.
story in the background, which is
Yeah,
great.
yeah, like kind of going on and stuff like that, and then the kind of intros to the scenes. It's like a really
The
long string of words, but then marked out like activities,
right.
and then like yeah, and so it's good.
The different
Interesting
chapters,
thing.
right?
If you put a line through a word or make a word harder to read,
Hmm.
people try harder to read it. They
Really,
teach you that in school, yeah, like in design school. They're like, if you really want someone to read it,
put a
cross
line.
it out, kind of like scribble over it, do something to make it hard to read. Because then people see that and like, what are they trying
Ooh.
to make me not see?
Okay.
Yeah,
Reverse psychology on the universe. Okay.
yeah, but no, it was good. I hesitate to say just shut up and take my money. It is that tier. It's just when I think of shut up and take my money, it's like, oh, I want more. But so I'll give it that grade. It's not. I think one and done. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
like this
No, but
is
see, I think it can be. shut up and take my money, even if it's a one and done.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. But
This
yeah,
movie
so
does have repeatability and
I guess
rewatchability.
more movies like that would be nice. I like talkies.
Right.
And so yeah, I enjoyed it. I think there was a dark humor to both our characters that I enjoyed. That, by the way, they were debating on what that was. That he said it's a mountain lion. She's like, "What if it's a lynx? So what? Maybe it's a cougar." A mountain lion is a puma, is a cougar. It's all the same fucking. Technically, it's also a panther. Panther is a very loose term.
Yeah.
I was just really mad at that scene. I'm like, you guys fucking really like. I did like the fact that after they had sex, it shows that animal and he was just chilling and stuff.
Right.
And then they were talking later about how gross they must have looked, and she was like, "I thought we looked really pretty."
Right.
And then it's like, "No, you didn't." Like, I don't think anybody really looks good having sex. I mean, yeah. I mean, Keanu's right. We are these gross things.
Right. That was a great scene. Just the banter is so great in this movie.
Yeah.
No, anyways, it is 8,000% a shut up and take my money for me. Mrs. Cap watches it all the time. I can sit and just sort of pop in any scene and just sort of you can sort of jump in at any time and you can sort of understand the movie immediately. And that's sort of what I did. It made me want to watch it from the beginning, and it's enjoyable. It's again, it's one of those things where you can even have in the background just as banter and sort of tune in and out of it. Because
I also like how his character was really cheap, and he's like, "What about your gift bag?" And then she was like, "You could have mine." So he nabs hers, and then he goes back and he nabs another one. Yeah, I like that. That was good.
Yeah. So on the scale, it is a shut up and take my money for me.
Yeah. It's the same for me. I mean, it was an enjoyable experience. I watched it this morning at 5 a.m. And I had a good time. I mean, some movies I struggle to stay focused, but this one I was totally into the whole time. Didn't even look at my phone.
Nice.
So
and I'm glad because he hadn't seen it, so I'm glad this is a 1 point in my favor. Point for Slade.
So for my pick, just because I felt like I had to at this point, we're talking about it. I'll pick another talkie, the one I was originally talking about, Before Sunrise. So I don't know if you're gonna like it, to be honest, but I'll leave it up to you to decide. It's similar. It's a talkie, but whereas Destination Wedding had humor to it, this is very much more a drama.
Okay.
And so, but like I said, it's the only kind of romance movie I ever like.
Okay.
So, well, I guess I like Destination Wedding too now. So, but.
Well, I mean, it makes sense with this because Valentine's Day is looming, so we can get our little rom-com.
So Before Sunrise is an interesting series. Just watch the first one, because there's Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, Before something. I don't know. It's like Before Sunrise was made and then it ended, and then for whatever 9 years later, Ethan Hawke, and I forget the actress's name, they were like, let's make a sequel. And so you find out what happens to the end of Before Sunrise. But I almost feel like even though they keep making these and I watch each one and I enjoy them, I almost wish they kept it at just the first one, because the way it ended, it kind of tells who you are as a person. But anyway, we'll talk about it more next week.
Okay.
So yeah, we encourage you guys to watch it with us. It's not something I would normally pick. It is one of those movies that's kind of dear to my heart. So every time I've dated someone, I usually end up watching The Notebook, and I fucking hate that movie. And then, but I kind of go, okay, now we're watching mine, and I put Before Sunrise on, and most of the time they don't like it, but the one that got away, if you will, Elise, she loved it. So. And then she wanted to watch the sequel immediately afterwards. So.
Oh, really?
But anyway.
Okay.
So let's do our Battle Nerds. So Battle Nerds is where you have a list of 100 iconic characters. Each week we pit them in battle against each other to see who won. We allow you guys to vote, send us messages. It's completely rolled at random. We are down to just 25 combatants left. um, which started as a list of 100, so we're down to the 1/4 mark.
Mm-hmm.
So last week it was the Invincible Iron Man versus the Killer Rabbit of Carbonog.
Yes.
Despite the Twitter poll giving it to the Killer Rabbit of Carbonog, I got a few direct messages from people, and that pushed Iron Man just a hair over.
Just a
And
hair over.
and so the Killer Rabbit of Carbonog, thank God, is off the list. I was like, there's no. I kept watching that Twitter poll. I'm like, it's not going to be Iron Man, really. Beat Thor. Like, what the fuck is with this thing? But yeah, so the Killer Rabbit is finally defeated by the Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch, and we can get him off the list. Thank God. Iron Man goes on to take his second win.
Okay.
And then this week we're doing Tarzan versus the Terminator T800 Series Model 101,
Mm-hmm.
basically the Terminator from Terminator 2. So it's really up to you to beat the Terminator, Cap. So
Yeah, so
what are your thoughts?
I'm gonna go with classic Disney Tarzan. So I think this is interesting because it's almost
Two worlds, one family.
Oh no! Live action.
Okay.
Yeah, no, not the. God, who sang that song? Who's the musician that sang that song?
I forget.
Fucking the dude that every mom's playlist. No, so I'm going like the live action, just your old school Disney. So the moment we rolled this, I see almost like a Predator movie in my head, but like a different flip on it, where you have Arnold Schwarzenegger again is the hunter, but he's the T-800, so it's still Arnold Schwarzenegger, but instead of the Predator, it's fucking Tarzan, which is fucking cool. Now, what's cool about Tarzan, raised by, was it gorillas? The one thing about Tarzan, he almost has I'm not going to call it Aquaman powers, but he has Aquaman can talk to, aquatic life. Tarzan can communicate with the animals around him, so he has freaking backup with him. He's got the whole fucking jungle on his side, including an entire fucking tribe of gorillas. Homeboy's got reinforcements. Now I
have a gun.
Okay, great. You have a gun. Here's an entire fucking forest coming down at you. Now, we established earlier that monkeys are not to be trifled with.
Yes, unless you're a robot that can go and then
so I could actually see it going down like this, where you have Tarzan and he's trying to coordinate with his jungle friends, and you have Karchak, his father, comes out and says, "Go, son, we shall lead the front," and you have Karchak just leading this giant fucking wave of fucking animals trying to bait the T-800, just gunning everybody down, and then here comes Tarzan. His father gets killed by the T-800, and Karchak says, "Oh, my son gave our life to you. Go take him out," or something. Gives the heroic speech, and then Tarzan takes his father's blood and just fucking this, and just fucking goes full gorilla, eats the fucking Terminator's face off, eats his fucking robo dick off, because that's what fucking monkeys do, start fucking ripping off limbs. Channel that primal monkey spirit.
Yeah, he can eat the flesh on the outside of his body off. It's not going to do much. Like, I mean, again, I just think that and also you're basically just said Tarzan's going to frontline all his friends, so they're going to be like, I'm his bullet shield. And
well, because Tarzan, he's homeboys with all of the jungle, except for that fucking cheetah guy. But, so anyways, realistically, if we were to put the two of them together,
he's got a knife.
Yeah, he does have a knife. I see Tarzan being able to just use the jungle environment to his advantage. Like, that's about it. He could set the traps. He can, I forgot what I was going to say.
You're reverse predatoring, I guess.
Yeah, reverse predatoring is how I would see it.
Instead of Arnold Schwarzenegger fighting the Predator, Arnold Schwarzenegger is the Predator.
Right.
I just think that, it's just, I mean, again, if I were you, I would have, found, cosmic Tarzan or something like that.
I don't think it's needed. I think it's an interesting enough of a premise.
I don't see it like
I think it's an
Arnie
interesting.
walks in, and then like he could be like a mile away, and Tarzan just like oh me monkey man, and then just and it's over. I mean, like
I think Tarzan would be able to find
why
a way
Skynet sent the Terminator back? Maybe he like got confused and like thought that was the right John Connor or something like that. Like,
maybe that was originally John Connor, but because of the incident, he was unaware of who he actually was. To him, he's just Tarzan, but to everybody else, to Skynet, it's John Connor. There we go. That's cool. I like.
I mean, look, if I did research on Tarzan, and he's comparable in Conan. He kind of does, like if you go with the comic book version, he has comparable strength to him. He can lift big rocks, and he swung and kicked a T-Rex in the jaw hard enough to knock it on its ass.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, like that version of Tarzan, like now we're talking, but like any other just regular version of Tarzan, he gets like beaten by people with nets. So I mean, like, I just think that like, if we're talking an advanced robot from the future with miniguns, grenade launchers, and whatever else,
but the Terminator's been outsmarted too. It's not like it's a flawless machine. It's been bested before.
Yeah, I mean,
just
by like
I can see
by pipe bombs and like industrial machinery. I mean, look, if you know of something where Tarzan's got an industrial machinery plant,
I actually see this boiling down to the two of them are fighting. Tarzan uses his agility to sort of in the jungle to his advantage to evade the gunfire and whatnot. Maybe all of it. Maybe the T-800 sees through a lot of his traps, but the one thing is the giant boulder at the cliff. Just very simple. Lever action, just drop the giant boulder on the T-800. I could see Tarzan, with all else fails, all other traps are failing, lures the T-800 to this trap, to which, and T-800s have been lured into traps before. They have been tricked before. They have been deceived. Because they're so single-minded, and that's what made the T-1000 like scary, was that it saw through traps. It saw through those things. The T-800, not so much. It was just a single-minded killer. So if Tarzan could lure T-800 to just that edge where there's just a giant boulder above and just giant rock, the end.
So basically, Cap thinks he's going to win by like trying to reverse Predator a situation. I think Terminator's an obvious win because, like I said, park yourself up on a cliff a mile away and then just sniper his ass.
Okay, but if he could have done that, he would have done that with Sarah Connor. Like he did.
He didn't know which Sarah Connor to go after.
Okay, but
that was his whole thing. He was going around asking about. By the time that he showed up as Sarah Connor, she was in police custody.
Yeah. Either way, but it's not up to us. It's up to y'all.
Yeah, so we'll put the poll up on Twitter afterwards. Sorry I was late with the last poll. I forgot. But yeah, and then you guys can vote. Let us know who you fought one debate, or more likely, you're just gonna write down whichever character you want. Right. So like, do so, and we will release the results. Like I said, you can also message us directly. You can leave a comment on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, whatever. However you prefer to do it. We add them all together. So
what are we
we got you got to be a 25 or less, but because you can't roll a 9 or a where is the Terminator or an 18.
Hold on.
There we go, 24. Oh, okay.
Hold on.
I got a powerhouse character. Oh, by the way, speaking of, we only have 4 fighters that have yet to fight, that have not fought yet. Superman, Darth Vader, Megatron, and Arya Stark.
Oh.
After that, it's all returning champions.
I got an 11.
This is an interesting one. You got once again returning champ, the unbeatable Squirrel Girl
Yes.
versus Zatanna.
I hate matches like this.
So tune in next week for Zatanna versus the unbeatable
Why
Squirrel
is
Girl.
Squirrel Girl on the list?
She keeps winning, or she beat Goku. I kind of dug that one. She didn't just beat Goku; she humiliated Goku. It was like hundreds of votes to like 3. Like it was just insane.
Okay, so tune in next week for Zatanna versus Squirrel Girl. Ugh.
Can we take a 5-minute pee break?
Yeah, let's take a 5-minute pee break. That sounds
All right, we'll
great.
be right back.
We'll be right. Cool. Welcome back. We have about 30 minutes.
Yeah. So I
well,
got a couple of rants that we can go over. So we already talked about She-Hulk being too expensive, and then that guy being like, "Well, why else would they cancel it? Because it's too expensive." I mean, if you think about it, it like cost like the amount of making Avengers.
Right.
But anyway, I guess it was longer though. So
Right.
there's a channel that we follow on. Their whole thing is matchups, and they were doing Hulk versus Kratos, and Tyler from Imaginary Access was on there, and he said that he thinks the only reason people are picking Kratos is because God of War has that like huge fan base. And the thing is, we did Kratos versus Battle Cat on the show. Now, you guys, you had Dan backing you up that time, but you picked a video game Kratos. You shouldn't have done that. That one's weak as hell. But Kratos from the novels, he's more like New Genesis level. Like, he's a concept. He's like, he's like that powerful. So I said to Tyler, I was like, I don't know. It was like, I think Kratos stands a better chance than you think. And he was like, well, based on the level of research that I do. And I was like, well, based on the level of research I do, I hate it when people do that. Like,
right.
I am clearly more intelligent. No offense, Tyler, if you're watching our show, I love your content and I've learned a lot from it. But I mean, you even admitted in our discussion that you don't know that much about Kratos, like in the novels. Um, but yeah, so like, where do you go? Like Hulk versus Kratos? 'Cause I know Hulk is broken, powerful.
Mm.
But like Kratos, like when you see how he is in the novels, he's faster than light. You know, he can like lift the whole universe, and
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like he's it, that's why like in the games, it's like, oh, it's a gate, I can't get through it. Like why? Like like
Well, I mean, makes it a bit more interesting as a combatant, don't you think? Instead of just going to sometimes for the most powerful thing. I mean,
no, I agree, the reason was I was expecting you guys to go there, so I went with Superman level Battle Cat.
no,
But
we just went with the recognizable version of Kratos, but
yeah, but
yeah.
but I'm not talking about that battle, but I'm talking about Hulk versus Kratos.
Yeah, I mean, if
Yeah,
if you said that Kratos could already do these things in the book, then I mean, but then again, Hulk is also stupid broken. So,
yeah, that's what I
who's
mean. I
right?
kind of gave it. I was like up in the air. I don't. I mean, I guess there's truth to what Tyler's saying that Kratos, the people that love Kratos, think he's like the most biggest badass of the bunch.
Mm,
But and then other people were saying, well, people think Hulk is weak because of the MCU. I don't know if
no,
that's true.
no.
You know what I'd love the MCU to do is to have because they have Professor Hulk right now,
Yeah.
but make Professor Hulk more like he was in the comics, like where he's got massive guns and shit like that, and
Oh, I forgot that
like
he had big guns. Like, yeah, that was.
yeah, yeah, it was kind of sci-fi, like he and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
I liked that version of Hulk a lot. I mean, that was my Hulk essentially.
Mm,
But okay, so but yeah, I mean, I kind of say if in my opinion, Kratos is like a new Genesis level god, a
mm.
new Genesis level god against Hulk. I think that's a pretty even match.
That's an even match.
So I mean, I just say it just comes down to who's writing the damn thing. I know I always say that, but
Right.
okay. So here's
You know
another
what's going to
one.
happen? One is going to think they're going to have something over the other until the real villain appears and it's like, oh no, we must put aside our differences to go and take out that guy.
That
Oh,
happened.
okay, friend, and they'll do like the and
Yeah, that
it'll be
happened.
with the blades of chaos and then they'll fucking jump at each other and Kratos will like as Hulk is jumping up, Kratos will jump up and like jump off the Hulk and just lay it in and cut up a big fucking thing for the Hulk to come in and just fucking grab the piece and just fucking start tearing it open. Yeah,
No,
that's what'll
do
happen.
you remember? You remember World War Hulk, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So they like at that point Thor was dead,
yeah.
so he wasn't in it.
Right.
But they did a
It was
what
a
if?
life model replica or something of Thor, right?
Yeah, the Ragnarok. It was like a robot, but
Yeah.
they did what if Thor was for Planet Hulk,
Mm.
and so instead of it
That'd be
being
interesting.
Sentry,
It'd be
Thor,
Thor. Okay.
it was Thor thrown down with Hulk, and they exchanged like three punches.
Mm.
And then someone's like, "Oh, there's a bunch of people trapped under this thing. We need your help." And so then they were both like, "Okay, I guess we better go help them." And it was like the whole reason that we showed up was for this. And they recently did a another matchup because it's Starship Hulk versus the current version of Thor,
Mhm.
and like they like switched. It was like Hulk became like Odin was backing Hulk up, and then Thor like ended up hulking out and stuff like I don't know. It got weird.
Okay.
It was that in that one. It was because it goes sometimes Hulk wins, sometimes Thor wins.
Mm.
It was basically implied that if Thor ever really lets himself go,
Mm.
there's nothing Hulk can do, even as powerful as he is. I don't know about that. I mean, yeah, I've always been annoyed by Hulk because his power goes up and down depending on who he's going up against. If
Right.
he's going up against Captain America, Captain America is too agile for him to touch.
Right.
And yet then he's fighting someone like Silver
Silver
Surfer who's
Surfer,
like faster than light and
like
he's able
blink
to punch him no
speeds.
problem.
Right.
Yeah, it's been an annoyance of mine for years, but whatever. Okay, so here's another one. Do you remember that scene? And I don't even remember what it was necessarily about,
Mm.
but where Peacemaker is yelling at the beard guy, and he's like, and he starts listing characters. He's like,
Yes.
Tinky Winky, the
Yeah.
Red Knight from Voltron,
Yeah.
yeah, and he's like, it's
He's
like
improv this
the
whole bit.
Beatles, and like,
Right.
yeah, and it just keeps going. Someone made like a little thing, and they were just popping in the characters over and like showing all the things he was referencing.
Mm.
And someone posted a tweet saying like they can't wait for the next season of Peacemaker for more stuff like that.
Mm.
Rob, who watches her show at Rob097, or make sure I get that right. At Rob, yeah, 0797, creator of uh, what's the oh, I'm so sorry, Rob. Help me out. What's his book?
Who, Rob?
Yeah, yeah. White Owl.
Yes, that White Owl.
But anyway, so he's also created a new book called Faint. It's like a horror book. He's working on getting his Kickstarter going for that. We really support it. Check it out. I usually post about his stuff on Twitter. But anyway, he was saying he hated that scene and he didn't think that scene had a purpose and stuff. And I was like,
it's funny.
So you don't come across many nerd rants, do you? You should watch our show more. We go off on this shit all the time. And he was like, it reminded me of that scene in Parks and Rec where what's his name was talking about, we see the gloved Mandalorian hand coming out of the star, and then because there's the Mind Stone, the Space Stone, and so then like the X-Men show up, and right. And it reminded me of that. Like, I like scenes like that because it's like
it's unfiltered nerd.
Yeah, and he was saying, well, it's real when we do it on our show. And I was like, yeah, but you're describing art. Art mirrors life. So right. If people really do that and his character does it, it makes sense within the context. Right. And the whole thing is his character, because of his background, he still has that kind of stunted level of man-childism.
Right.
But yeah, I thought it was a good scene. I can't think of any scene in Peacemaker I didn't like. That overall was just fantastic. Series.
I can't wait for more. Yeah. I hope we get more.
Yeah, well, he said he's keeping it around like Peacemaker. I think it's supposed to be like a different Earth or something version, but it's the same thing. People are pissed off about that. I mean, it doesn't matter. I posted it on Twitter, like someone was bitching about James Gunn. And I said, I can already tell without clicking on your profile. I already know what your profile is all about. And like I got like 100 likes on that comment. I finally did click on his profile. The background was Rebel Moon. Before the Snyderverse, and yeah, so then someone's like, his whole profile is his obsession about James Gunn, and then this other person's like, no, it's all about Snyder, and he goes, he posts more about James Gunn than anybody else, and yeah, sure enough, like they hate guns so much.
I don't want to why.
I don't know.
He makes good stuff, like he consistently good stuff.
I guess they feel like because he's making stuff Zack Snyder can't. But like,
no, Zack Snyder's going to make one movie and then spend the next 5 years releasing the whole movie. And every little micron step of the way, oh, here's this new. It reminds me of Dianetics, like the guy's been dead for decades now. Oh, we got this new version of this book. You got to buy it. It's updated stuff. Buy it. It's like, but I just bought this one. Just give me the whole thing. No, you got to read this one now with more words.
Someone did that scene in where Thanos has got like Cap's shield or whatever, and he's like trying to push back from him.
Right.
And then Cap goes like, "Save Martha," and then like Thanos is like, "Who's that?" And he's like, "It was worth a try." But have you seen the Ultimate Edition of Batman vs Superman?
Yes.
Yeah, the one where it's the extended director's cut.
Yeah,
that's actually a good movie.
Right.
Like it was like Batman vs Superman. In my opinion, kind of sucked. Like it didn't. I was able to enjoy it because I was like, oh my god, parademons, shit like that.
Right.
But like the actual story was meh. But then the Ultimate Edition, where and I've pointed out before, I can't do it now, but I wrote it down once. I wrote down Lex Luthor's plan, and it's the most convoluted, complex thing ever. It's like how, everything had to go perfectly right to make that work.
I hated it. What was his name? Jesse Eisenberg. I
Yeah,
hated his Lex Luthor.
yeah, I know he was the worst part of the movie.
If I feel like he was the worst part of the movie, and
Yeah,
maybe if they had just given Lex Luthor just a little bit more Lex Luthor poise instead of making him some weird like fucking Elon Musk weirdo type, like I don't know.
yeah.
It was
You
just
know, like flip side, I'm loving the Kingpin over in the MCU. I think forget Kang, make the Kingpin the main villain.
Kingpin. Yeah.
Uh, because like that would just be dope. Like, and he's such a good Kingpin. Like,
Right.
um, and then you don't need him to be like, oh, I'm the most powerful because he hires the guys that are the most powerful.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah. So
And, but see, that's what makes Kingpin cool is that he's not galactic powerful, but he still has influence. Like
yeah,
that's what's cool about him. And then Lex Luthor's kind of the same way, probably a little bit more elevated because Lex Luthor can like build shit, but
yeah.
it's just the man and the influence. That's what they are. It's about the man
He
and
has
the
a
influence.
begrudging respect for Batman because he's just a guy, but he walks with gods.
Right. Which is cool.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's an interesting character. But yeah, like I agree with you. Eisenberg was the wrong choice for Lex Luthor. I don't know why they went with him.
Right, but then they gave us the full movie, and it's like okay, it was enjoyable, not perfect. Like the ramshackle plot in
It
Eisenberg is
fit
still
in, but it took like that was the thing when you watch the first one. I remember watching it with my friend Diana, and she was like, what the hell is happening, like, and it's like, yeah, kind of like, because you felt like there was just large swaths like on the cutting room floor,
right.
and then yeah, once they like actually fixed that, it was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is actually a competent movie.
Right.
Yeah, so I agree.
So Snyder, just give me the whole product,
Yeah,
please.
I mean, like I said, it's probably like their job is to make money. I'm guessing they make money that way.
Right, but
um,
it's stupid. Like I'm not saying it's not effective because it's clearly working, but God, don't give me a third of a movie and
no,
then
I agree.
celebrate it like it's a masterpiece without seeing the rest of the 2/3 of the movie. And I feel like had the artiste, the storyteller, focused less on the slow mo, they would have had time to really just tell the whole movie. You could still have your slow moments, but
And then you have the slow mo of the slow mo.
right, like no, it's like slow, it's like slow to like the power of three. It just like it's Inception slow motion. Just I don't know. I feel that if I were have done it, I would have been here's the whole movie. Stylistic is just here's the whole movie. The end. It's 4 hours long. It would be 2 hours if you sped it up. But here it is. That's
Well,
it. That's all I'm saying, Snyder
so
fans.
also it's talking Snyder. Someone posted, I don't even remember which scene, some scene from Man of Steel, and they said this one scene clears Superman Returns, and I was like, that's not like a high bar to clear, like like I mean, like here's the thing. My thoughts on Superman movies. Superman Returns is the worst one, no question,
Right.
because at least with Superman 4 and Superman 3, which were not good movies, they're fun movies.
Right.
Yeah, that solar powered guy in Superman 4 was stupid as hell. You could beat him with an umbrella, but like, do you remember as soon as he was in shade, he just stopped. Like the so yeah, it was silly, but it was fine. He had like nails,
Yeah.
like, like the it
I
was
just
dumb,
remember
but
the
it was.
costume. The costume was
But
stupid.
Superman 4, I mean Superman Returns, it was like people were calling it emo man when it came out.
Yeah.
It was like he never showed any personality. He just walked around invincible through the whole thing. And then there was like they went with that old version of Lex Luthor where he's like, I'm a real estate mogul.
Hmm.
I mean, I guess like kind of similar to Trump now, but then you had and then you went then we had what do you call it? And then his kid who was like had asthma, but then was also kind of super powered himself. I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know. The whole film was just like The reason I think it's not as good as the others is because they're all bad, but that is boring bad.
Right.
I was bored.
It's
You
Fantastic
know,
Four reboot
the
bad.
Fan Four Stick, yeah,
Right.
like Fan Four Stick. Me and you tried to watch it. You fell asleep. I was bored through the whole thing. We thought we'd make fun of it and have a good time because it was a
No,
bad
it
movie.
sucked the soul out of my body. I fell asleep. I couldn't stay focused. I didn't. There's just nothing of interest, and even like the color palette was just
Yeah.
bland. It wasn't vibrant. It wasn't Jack Kirby. It was. What is this?
I
Anyway.
did the one thing to its credit though is they went. I thought it was a better idea having them go to the negative zone and get their powers from exposure there
Okay.
than having them fly into space. I thought that was a nice update.
Yeah.
Um, but other than that, yeah, the movie wasn't. And there were some parts where like just them hanging out was fine.
Mm.
I don't give a shit about Johnny Storm being black. That didn't bother me. I like Michael B. Jordan.
Right.
So yeah, none of that really bothered me. You know, it was a good superhero movie. Did you ever see Michael B. Jordan was in it? God, what's it called? The one where they like touch a stone and they got like psychic powers and stuff like that.
Oh.
I want to say like Chronicle or something like that.
Oh yeah. The one where the kid who goes nuts and they yeah.
Yeah, and they see him and he's like floating and he's like crushes in a car like
yeah. Oh, that was a great movie. That was a great movie.
Cool. Yeah, that was the same guy. He did Fan Four Stick. But yeah, it was just he knocked it out of the park with that. But yeah, I think he did say that he got like a lot of studio interference in Fan Four Sticks. So.
I believe it.
It happens,
Yeah.
you know. I mean, people often point out in these like Man of Steel because people were upset. Obviously, Superman snapping a neck in Man of Steel, and they're like, "Well, look at Superman 2. He killed all those people because he kills Zod and them at the end of Superman 2." And it's like, yeah, but not in the director's cut. That was a studio forcing him to do that.
Right.
And then he released the director's cut and he just depowered them. And so, like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I like the whole Superman not killing thing personally.
Right. See, that's what forces him to be Superman.
Yeah.
Is that he overcomes that. That's what makes him Superman.
Yeah, and if your moral is I shouldn't kill, but as soon as it gets hard, you immediately go to kill.
Yeah, you're done.
Then you never really had that moral to begin with.
You're morally bankrupt. You're done.
Yeah.
And so I still like our version of what would be like the Snyder like Batman v Superman, where tell Doomsday like it started off with Superman on trial, but then Doomsday shows up, and then it's that ground footage of Lois Lane, almost like Cloverfield style, following this thing. Like, I'd watch the fuck out of that. Oh my god, that'd be good. Like, that's how it should have been. We could have had that. Frosty, we could have had that.
I know. People would bitch, though, because they would be like, oh, I didn't want a Lois Lane movie. I wanted a Superman movie.
But it is a Superman movie.
I know. But you know how people are. Like, you know.
So, it's like Masters of
the
the
Universe. I wonder
Universe.
how much of it is, though, like, for example, like, you go on Twitter and everybody bitched about what I thought was an awesome series, Masters of the Universe Revelations. They all bitched about it, and yet clearly it did well enough that Netflix is like, yeah, we're doing another one.
Right.
The toys are out in like a couple of days.
The toys are really badass if you haven't seen them.
Yeah, I know I have. Yeah, they did a good job.
But
yeah, I think actually now that I think about it, I think it comes out on the 25th.
Nice. So next week,
something to talk about. That'll be a nice little treat. Hopefully they don't split it into 2 parts.
Okay, first off, he shouldn't have split it off into 2 parts. That was his mistake. He just plopped it as it was. The entirety of it. Don't Zack Snyder this.
You could even release it like 1 episode a week and I'd be fine. I just can't stand where it's like, here's 4 episodes, now you got to wait months for the next 4.
Right,
you know?
Right. Just hopefully they learn from that mistake. They don't.
But there were some awesome parts, like when he calls down the power and turns into Sabatine-Man versus Skelegod.
Right.
Or my favorite scene of all is when he's like he lands on that giant battlefield and he was like, you know, he's like, get to safety, and there's nowhere that's safe. Oh, there's one place behind me. And then he just starts charging and he jumps on Battle Cat and then he's like, I mean, it's just the coolest scene.
Right. So here's
Flies through the air, cuts the dragon, then it lands, and he's like standing there and explodes behind him. Like,
oh,
oh,
but see, he was emasculated because of Tila. It's her story now. No,
well, it looks like there's gonna be a romantic element to him and Tila, which people have been
haven't people
speculating on.
been wanting that forever?
Yeah, well, it's always been a speculation. I mean, the original show was not going to go there, obviously,
Right.
but uh, yeah, we'll see. I mean, it would be cool. I love that universe. I thought Kevin Smith made it like elevated it.
The whole
Um,
final battle felt like you were looking at one of the back panel arts of one of the toy boxes. Because
yeah.
what was great about toys back then was the boxes. They had this really cool art on the backs, and it was like oil paintings of all the toys. It was just so cool, and that's what that whole end fight felt like. Was just take all the toys and just mash them all together. It was great.
I
Man at
liked
Arms
it
is still my
when
favorite.
and when they drop in Ram Man and like he shows up. I always liked Ram Man because he was just like
Just squatty
a
little guy.
heavy set dude. Yeah, like
I have Ram
and
Man. Ram Man was great. But I'm excited because we get Hordak, which means we're probably gonna. I hope we don't get her in season 2. I hope we get her in season 3 because we have Hordak. But to bring in Shira at some point,
yeah.
I don't want to see her season 2.
Shira, Shira.
I had it. I had both Masters of the Universe and Shira. They were both the same to me. It was all part of the same toy box.
Yeah, there was a debate because when Shira came out, Masters of the Universe started purging viewers, and so there was a theory going around that because there was Shira, like they were like boys were going like, oh, it's no longer like
It's gone
made
woke.
for guys.
It's gone woke.
Yeah, I guess an '80s version of that.
Yeah.
Um, I was fine with it. It made sense to me that there was the guy one and the girl, and then I watched a little bit of She-Ra just because it was on.
Yeah.
It was not very good, but
I didn't have any problem with it. I had a few of the figures. Yeah, I would have it on.
I know,
I,
but they were kind of lame, like that guy Bo.
yeah,
And
but
then you notice like someone was talking about like they were like, oh well, they made Bo gay in the new She-Ra, and I was
he
like,
was always.
he has like I guess I'm being stereotypical here, but he had the mustache, the big heart on his chest.
Yes.
I mean, like you just look at that guy and you're like, no, at the very least he's metrosexual.
Right.
I mean,
He looks fabulous. Absolutely
yeah,
fabulous.
he looked good. He knew how to dress. There's
Right.
no debate there. But yeah, no, I just I thought actually that speaking of that
We
new
call that
She-Ra show,
showing without telling, Frosty.
that new She-Ra show though, I watched. I actually thought that was pretty good. I didn't get into it. I watched a couple episodes, and also they made a younger version of Masters of the Universe. I watched
Yeah.
the first couple episodes of that, and yeah, if I was a kid, I'd be really into it. I mean, my favorite line was, like I forget, it was like Skeletor talking about how lame all of them were,
Mm.
and then Battle Cat's like, "Well, what about me?" And he was like, "No, you're good. You're this awesome fucking tiger thing with," and he's got like robot claws with like robot claws and stuff.
Mm.
Yeah, you're cool. Yeah, like I thought that made me chuckle.
That's awesome.
And it looks like I don't watch it, but I'm scrolling through Netflix and it looks like he's got the old school half plate armor or
Yeah.
whatever.
Oh, so cool.
But yeah, so I'm excited to see the new one though. That definitely sounds good to me. Let's see what else we got.
You got 5 minutes. Want to fill it with some sort of vacuous noise? We're doing our superheroes next, right?
Yeah. Any thought on what you're gonna do with yours yet?
I don't know. I because there's so many avenues I can go now, but I don't know. I'll figure it out. But you made me want to dig out my connects and start building towers and cities in my my cave.
Yeah, after we got off the show last time, we just started talking about we used to play with toys for like an hour. Like we were just like all the different worlds we created and stuff like that. It was definitely a good time.
I like how each of us had our own little universes, our
Yeah.
own little toy universes, which is cool. So yeah, we recently did some rearrange the garage, and I got my old Kinect box, and I've been foaming at the mouth to go and dig through my old toys. It's fun revisiting stuff like that with an adult brain. because your little kid brain just was a little kid brain. Like it's aged, so you can now conceive things better. At least in my head, you can build more elaborate things and whatnot. So, I don't know.
You know what I saw, which annoyed me, because we were talking briefly about like giving it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so the guy who plays Master Chief in the Halo series,
Mm-hmm.
he was talking about like he's like I guess people are complaining because he keeps removing his helmet,
Right.
and he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, but you can't have a character wearing a helmet all the time. It just doesn't work on TV." And it's like bullshit. You just aren't a good enough actor to pull it off. I mean, Carl Urban, Dredd, perfect example.
Right.
Like, fucking The Mandalorian.
Pedro
Yeah, we see.
Pascal. I mean,
yeah.
that was.
But mostly,
that's forgivable. It's not like, oh, I need to have my moment where you see my charming. No, it wasn't that. So if it's done for the sake of story, then I forgive it. That's why The Mandalorian works. Now, if he goes on later on to keep removing his helmet for reasons, stop it. Like, stop. It doesn't need to be done. And plus, there was like a whole atonement for it too. So like, it had its repercussions. So like, I feel like it's done, if you will. But yeah, that stupid guy who played Master Chief, I heard it wasn't very good.
I've heard it's good. I just heard that like that's the thing people are complaining about, because it's been renewed, and I've heard a lot of people say positive things about it. So I mean, I don't know. It's not something that I've necessarily. I guess I've never been that. Halo has a very predictable lore, oh, but then there was the race that was the really advanced race, and it's like every sci-fi series always has the forgotten race. They're like the elves, and even in fantasy, like you play Skyrim, there's the dwarves. They're like the forgotten race, and you go into their old complexes, and it's all like steam animatronics and stuff like that.
I'd like to admit to having several forgotten races in Quantum, but they are relevant, each and every one of them. I mean, it's sort of hard it's a hard trope to steer away from, especially when you're creating like universals. It's all about timeline, right? When you're dealing with a universe, you have a timeline, and when you're dealing with advanced civilizations, yes, there's going to be like an ancient. There's going to be some type of precursor, if you will. So it's sort of. I can forgive it because in my head it sort of just logically would always flow that would be the case. I would be some type of ancient thing that as a precursor, but that's just me.
Here's one as well. So that site that Twitter account I was talking about, where they do a lot of verses. Who would win, Graviton versus the Flash? Again, Flash.
Right.
Like. It's by the time the gravity even like he's like I should start putting gravity, but I'm dead.
Right.
Flash is just so broken.
Is the argument? Well, gravity light can't escape gravity. Is that the argument?
I know it's just a who would win and why. Like they just post that. All this account does is called Who Would Win.
Oh.
They just grab two characters and then they say who would win and why. And then you can go into the comments, and everybody has a bunch of different opinions. They do a poll. I click on it. Yeah, it's 81% is out of 70 votes is saying Flash.
Right.
So, yeah, and then everybody in the comments is Flash. Oh, this one guy says, I reckon Graviton, because if he can use his powers before Flash can hit him, like Flash doesn't know what his powers are, then just make Flash super heavy and he won't be able to do shit. I don't know, vibrate through the earth.
Yeah.
Like
face or reality.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's the Flash. the one character
anyway, it's 12:30, so we should probably wrap up. Before we do, just want to give shout outs. Thank you to people who follow our channel at Real Super Killers, at Inkboard Studios, at Neko Meowster, at Impact Comics, at Rob0797, and Richard from the Smoking with Frogs podcast.
Of course. Yeah, like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. We like to end the show with a nerdy quote by Mr. Frosty. Usually something relevant, something profound.
What cruel trick of fate is this? I'm one of the strongest, most powerful, most feared humans on the face of the earth. There is nothing I can't accomplish, nothing I would not dare, and yet haven't the courage to remove my Iron Man armor. I don't dare gamble with my damaged heart. I'm a prisoner of Iron Man, of my own creation.
White Rabbits.